Yep.
Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Future of Testing is Low Code and AI webinar. I'll introduce myself. I am Shyam. I'm a group product manager at BrowserStack. I manage the low code automation product here. I also have a teammate here.
Hello everyone, my name is Rajesh. I'm working as a product manager alongside Shyam for local automation, and I've been associated with BrowserStack for 6+ years. And I come from a QA practitioner background myself, having done both the manual and automation testing.
So first, some housekeeping items. The session today will be for 45 minutes. All the participants are muted so that there are no interruptions during the webinar. There will be a 15-minute Q&A at the end of the 45-minute session. Please use the Zoom Q&A window to send in your questions. You can start sharing the questions as and when you have. We will address them at the end. And in between also, we will try to address them. Our teammates will try to address them. The session is being recorded and the recording will be shared with everyone who's registered. Okay. Now let's get into the webinar. Future of testing, right? What do we mean by future of testing is low code automation and why, right? Low code automation removes the coding barrier for all the people, right? So you don't need coding skill set for test automation. Anyone with a testing skill set or domain knowledge can contribute to test automation. It can be a QA, a developer, a product manager, business analyst, anyone from the support team, or anyone who's doing user acceptance testing today, right? They only need to think about the test case and not worry about how to code the test case. We continuously incorporate AI features wherever accuracy and performance of the AI feature is good and it is usable today. We have a dedicated team working on improving the AI accuracy and performance and usability on a daily basis. So we plan to add more AI features and capabilities as and when they become real world usable with a high accuracy level. So over the course of time, low code automation tool will evolve into an AI first tool. And you don't have to do any migrations to a AI first testing tool at some point of time in the future. So basically you are using a future proof tool that is usable today without any coding by the, by you. Let's see a demo of the product. Just give me a minute. So you can now see the low code automation application. This is the desktop application. This is just a one-click download and install from our web page. You can go to browserstack.com and find low code automation, and you will be able to download this application. Now I'm going to show a workflow on calendly.com. So when I do start recording, it launches a fresh clean session of a Chrome browser, which is different from the regular Chrome profile and browser that you use for your regular use, right? So this doesn't have any cookies, any history or anything of that sort. So you can see that the browser is launched. This is our test recorder. And typically you can minimize it or move it to some part of the screen where it doesn't overlay with the browser. Now for this webinar session, since I want you to see what's going on over here, I'm keeping it over here, right? Let's close this pop-up. So even actions like hover are recorded automatically without any explicit action that is required for them. Let's say I want to log in. All the key presses are captured automatically. It also identifies password fields and masks them so that it's not visible to anyone who might be sitting next to you. Okay, so now we have successfully logged into the application. I want to validate that this URL is showing over here correctly. So I'll do a text validation. It's just one click and point to the text that you want to validate, right? It says validate element text is so and so. If you want, you can go into the step details and then, change the operators and things as well. Now, let's say I want to create a new event. Before I go ahead, I want to validate that this pop-up contains 3 sections, and then there are 3 entries in that for one-on-one group and round robin and etc. So we have built this visual validation feature, which will take a screenshot of the component that you want to validate. And this will be used when as a baseline for any future test executions. It will capture the screenshot at that point of time and then validate it. So we use BrowserStack's Percy visual testing tool in the backend for doing this comparison and giving a result. So now let's go and create an event. New meeting type, all this is fine. Let me create. This timing is also okay. Save the changes. Now that it is saved, I want to check the share component on the screen, right? So it has multiple, sub components within it. So let's say I want to do a validation of this whole component. I'll again do a visual validation. I can use up and down arrow keys to select the accurate container. I don't have to select exactly using the mouse. It might be difficult to find the accurate element using that. So you can use your up down arrow keys and then press enter once you have narrowed in on the right container that you want to validate. Our recommendation is to use the specific area within the web page for this visual validation. Don't do a visual validation on the whole page. Then in that case, it would lead to unnecessary failures, because even any unrelated changes to the functionality which you want to validate also might cause issues in that. Now let's save this recording. I'm going to call it Calendly workflow 4th June. I can create or add any tags. I'm just going to tag regression in this. I can also place it in whichever folder I want to. Now you can also see all the detailed screen resolutions, what locale is used for creating this test. These will be the same settings that will be used eventually in a build as well. Now it's uploading all the assets, including the visual validation screenshots and everything, to the backend, and will again launch a new session of browser to execute from the beginning. So for each step, we also capture screenshot. And when it eventually executes as a build in the cloud infrastructure as part of a test suite, you also have a video recording of the whole session. And if there are any failures, we clearly explain what is the failure. Now we can see that screenshot of the container is being taken and the comparison is being made in the backend. We can see the result in a few seconds. So you can see for each step, if you expand here, you can actually see the screenshot of that step, what actually happened during that time. So if you want to later figure out what happened, you can do that. Yeah, now this is also done and it is completed. Now, if you see this URL has a number called -10 at the end of it. So here in the screenshot, if I do compare screenshots, I can actually see there is some difference over here. But we have set, and it is actually like, it's in the second decimal place. So it is within the default threshold of 10%. Now you can also set different thresholds for this visual validation comparisons. So you can keep it as 1% or 5% or whatever, so that depending on the level of difference, it will give you a pass or failure based on that. Now let's go to the test listing. So this is where I saved it. We can see that, this is the test that we created, right? Now the next step would be to create a test suite where you can go and create a test suite using and fill in the details. I'll just walk you through the existing test suite that I created. So if I see here, I have given the name. I have selected the previous test that I created, which is pretty much the same as this one. I had also run the test on multiple browsers over here. You can select scheduler to run when you want to run it on a schedule or via CI/CD or on demand as well. BrowserStack also has an accessibility testing product, which is integrated into the low-code automation solution. So for the workflow that we just created, if you need to do accessibility testing for all the components and all the different states that we went through, you just simply need to toggle this on and it will generate an accessibility scan report with all the accessibility issues that it finds on the screen and suggestions to how to resolve them as well. You can test websites that are private to your network and even test from different geographic locations if you want to imitate users opening the browser from different locations. I can run these builds anytime I want. So let's say I want to trigger a run now. It creates a build. We can go to the build section. So this build is now queued. Let's see a previous build that was run. So this build is now picked up. If we go within this, we can see the individual tests are queued and one of them will soon be picked up for actual execution. So this one is running right now on Safari. Now let's see the previous results. So this is the previous build result. So I can see the test executed here. So as I mentioned earlier, there is a complete video recording of the test that is executed. You can see here. And all the steps are also mentioned here, similar to what we saw earlier, right? So this is on the Chrome browser. So all these are real devices. You can download console logs, network logs. If there are any failures, you can see the screenshots. If you have Jira or Azure DevOps, you can raise bugs for any issues from here directly. If there was any failure, it would have shown that. Now let's come back to the demo. Sorry, come back to the slides. Now, how to adapt low-code automation? What I would recommend is, begin with simple test cases and gradually increase the testing complexity. Because these test cases, as a beginner, you can gain confidence when you are using these test cases, and then as and when you explore more in the product, you can go to the more complex scenarios. You would have also got a poll now asking whether you are interested in getting a personalized demo for your own product and website. Do respond to that if you are interested. Coming back to how to adopt low-code automation. if you want to, the second basic principle which I would recommend to follow is focus on testing what you can see as a basic principle, right? What we mean by this is when you automate tests using low code automation, see what is the visual aspect of the web application or website that you want to test, how to test focusing on the visual aspects, and avoid testing things like, testing elements, attributes, and things like that. See how the attributes are represented functionally on the screen and then use them to validate. This will ensure that the validations are, more robust than relying on backend attributes. Then the last point is follow the best practices. So what I mean by best practices are, don't try to replicate literally the same thing that you are doing when you are doing a manual testing to low code automation. Embrace the best practices of automation like reusability, that is modules, variables, secrets, API steps, loops, if else blocks, um, and even database queries, right? Database query is an upcoming feature. These are all more advanced features and automation concepts that help you create robust and reliable tests following the best practices of code-based automation. These are all built into the UI, so you don't have to worry about coding. You just need to start using them. Now, these are all advanced features which I would rather keep for a later session. We want to focus a lot more on the demo of AI functionalities as well. So now I'll hand over to Rajesh, who will show you the AI capabilities of the product. Rajesh, over to you.
Thank you, Shyam. Thanks for the great demo. I think showcase really well on how we can record workflows seamlessly using the recorder, and it's literally no learning curve involved in writing any kind of scripts. I'd request everyone to keep the questions restricted to the Q&A window instead of putting it in the chat. It will be difficult for us to go over to the chat windows one by one. It's easier in the Q&A section to reply to the questions faster. Right. I think Shyam very well explained on how to get started with local automation and what are the best practices to keep in mind. Now let's start by acknowledging something we all experience in the world of QA automation. We call it the daily grind. These are common automation bottlenecks that make our lives more challenging and automation efforts less effective. First up, let's talk about the challenge of slow and tedious test creation. Creating robust tests can be slow and tedious, especially when you have a huge backlog of manual test cases and the applications are complicated. Now, with traditional script-based automation, keeping up with the pace is really difficult. Plus, there's this bottleneck of lack of bandwidth or skill set required to write these robust automation scripts. Then there's this challenge of dynamic and ever-changing UIs. The applications are constantly changing, and UIs are getting tweaked. Trying to ensure to keep up with these changes from the UI, it becomes difficult to continuously modify your scripts to fix these tests, which directly leads to a next point, which is brittle tests and constant breakages. And it's incredibly frustrating to see when a small minor UI change, something like as simple as attribute modification in the element or a position changed from one place to another, can cause an entire suite to fail. Right now, you eventually are spending up more time in fixing your existing tests rather than automating the newer ones. Right. And finally, one I'm sure many of us have lost sleep over, it's the flaky test nightmare. These are the tests that pass 1 minute and then they fail. They fail in the next minute for no apparent reason. Now, these aren't just minor inconveniences. They are each of these are significant roadblocks to achieving efficient, reliable, and scalable automation. Now, this can impact our overall productivity, efficiency, and the quality of the features that are being shipped to production. Okay. So having laid out these common challenges, the big question is how can we overcome them? So this is where our AI-powered local automation agents come into play. So we have two agents, authoring agent and then the healing agent. Let's look at the authoring agent first. It's all about making the tests faster, smarter, and more accessible. The two primary aspects of authoring agent are AI steps for dynamic workflows. We'll demonstrate these each of these features in a while. But the key capability of authoring agents are ability to automate the dynamic workflows. I've seen a few questions in the chat window mentioning how to handle dynamic elements. So this is where AI comes into play. For instance, you want to validate whether date column is sorted in ascending order, or you want to validate that the product results are shown based on the filters that you applied on the page, or you want to select a available date in the next month. Now the months in the calendar keep on changing every month, right? So when you execute the test in the next month, it will eventually fail because the month has modified and the available dates have changed. Right? With traditional scripting, it becomes difficult to automate this case. You need to iterate through each and every row for validating the date column, sorting, parse the dates, compare them, and it's complex and error prone. And even using the recorder, it might capture just a static date at that time, right, which was during the recording. Now, these are like the tough problems to crack with the older methods, but with the authoring agent, you can now just simply describe these intentions in plain English. The AI understands the application context, the objective that you're trying to achieve, and then it will automatically execute the step and achieve the objective that you're trying to provide. So you'll just have to tell it what to do, not necessarily mentioning everything step by step in detail, that click on some button or etc. You just have to provide a meaningful prompt, and then it will automate the step for you. The second key aspect of the authoring agent is generating automated tests from manual test cases. As I mentioned in the previous slide, the slow and tedious test creation. There's a huge backlog of manual test cases that you'd want to automate, but there's lack of bandwidth or skill set to keep up with the automation coverage. So this is where the second aspect of AI authoring agent comes into play. If your test cases are well documented in any repository, you can just import it and use the AI option to automate those directly using AI, and it will automate it behind the scenes for you. So I'll showcase this in a few minutes. And second, on the healing agent, I think this is a very crucial part of the whole test execution aspect, effortless test maintenance using AI healing. We already discussed how brittle tests and constant breakages due to UI changes are like a massive time sink. Now, the healing agent focuses on the execution aspect, where anytime there's a minor UI change, like I mentioned, attribute modification, or the position of the element has changed, or the name of the button has modified from, let's say, login to sign in. The context of the application is still the same. You are trying to log into the website, but the button name is just slightly modified from sign in to login. Now, in these cases, AI would try to understand the application context and the step that you want to execute. So if you just say that I want to log into the website, it understands the step it has to be executed is log into the website, that is click on the login button. But the login and sign in contextually are the same. So it will end up healing that element and then pass the step and the test. So it overall reduces the test maintenance efforts. You don't have to spend too much amount of time fixing your tests just for a minor UI modification or any attribute modifications. Healing does the job for you. We will quickly run a poll to understand which of the aspect of your testing workflow you'd want to automate using AI. Which of the aspects are critical in your workflows that you would want to automate using AI? If you can have the poll on the screen, please. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll be walking through each and every feature that I've just talked about on the authoring and the healing agent. The first aspect that we mentioned was around generating dynamic steps, automating dynamic workflows using AI. Right? So here, the workflow that I'm trying to automate is I'll search for a flight from a source and a destination. And then I want to select any available date in the next month. And then select the sorting to sort the results in a cheapest flight order, and then validate that the sort results are arranged in those order itself. So I'll go ahead and record this. I'll select Mumbai to Delhi. Okay. Now here, there's an option in the recorder panel, which is AI interactions. To click on it, you'll see two options, validation and action. Now here the objective that I'm trying to achieve as part of this step is to perform an action, that is enter a departure and return date as any available date in the next month. So I can go to the options menu and then enter the objective that I want to achieve, that is enter departure and return date as any available date in the next month. So whatever objective or prompt you provide, it will take the application context, try to understand what you want to achieve as part of the prompt. And then while it performs, it also gives you the thoughts behind the actions. So here you can see it says, I need to select a departure and return date from the next month. It understands that the current month is June and the next month is July, and it needs to select any available date in the next month, that is the July month. Right? So it will click on the departure and return dates for the next month of July 2025. So you don't have to now go ahead and write a complicated script just to automate these workflows. You can just simply describe it in plain English, and then it will automate the step for you. So this was a demonstration of how you can automate a dynamic action. And I'll quickly go ahead and then record the further workflow where I'll just click on search to search for the flight results. And then I'll sort based on the cheapest flight order. So there are three options, best, quickest, and cheapest. I'll go ahead and select the cheapest one. So here, what I want to achieve is I want to validate that the flight results shown on the screen are sorted in ascending order of the price. That is the cheapest flight is shown on the top of the page, right? So I'll go to the validation section. I'll say that validate the flight results shown are arranged in ascending order of price. That is cheapest flight first. When you hit validate, again, it will take the application context. Try to understand the objective that you want to achieve, which is validating the flight results are sorted in ascending order of price, and then perform the validation and then give you the result. Now you can see the validation is passed. If let's say the values were not sorted in ascending order, the validation would have failed and the reasoning would have been available in the thoughts. So you can see looking at the flight search results, I can see all the flights are showing the same price, which is 7697. If there were any prices that were shown on top, but of higher value, it would have failed the validation here. So you'll also see the reasoning for every AI step that you execute. And then depending on the reasoning, you can also modify the prompt. So if you are providing something in the prompt which is slightly vague and it has performed a different action or validation for you, you can just try to see the reasoning and then modify the prompt accordingly to make it successful. So this is about how you can automate the dynamic workflows for actions and validations. Now let's talk about the second aspect of the authoring workflow, which is generating automated tests directly from your manual test cases. So here I am on the test management product of BrowserStack, where I have some test cases drafted for some application, which is Tupperware application. Here there's some test cases. Let's say this test case where I want to validate that the cart checkout functionality is working properly. So the steps that I want to perform as part of this test case is to navigate to the URL, which is this. If there were any credentials required to log into the website, I would have provided here or in the precondition. I'm sorry. Second step is to shop for the food storage and then add any product to the cart and enter all the details in the checkout screen. So here you can see I'm not providing each and every action that it has to perform, but a meaningful continuous workflow that it has to achieve, which is navigating to a URL, selecting or shopping for food storage, and then adding a product to cart and then checking it out, right? So here, I'll just use the option called automate using BrowserStack AI. As soon as you click this button, it will try to analyze the test case that you have provided and then understand that whether the test case contains any kind of login is required or not for the test case, right? Based on that, it will ask you for the username and password as well. And in case the website is private, for example, the Tupperware website, if that is private, then it will ask you to enable the local testing option as well. Right out again. While this loads, in the meantime, what I'll try to showcase is how you can do the healing. So healing doesn't require anything to be set up. You don't have to do anything on your end. Healing is automatically enabled if you're opted in for AI features. AI features right now are all behind an opt-in setting in your account settings page. Your group owner would have access to enable those settings. Once you enable that toggle, all the AI features that are part of the product will be accessible for you. So healing is also accessible via the opt-in flag itself, and you don't have to do any kind of setup to enable healing. Now here you can see there's a test called as login to BrowserStack, where I have run the test on all four browsers. Now when I recorded the test, the application had the button name login, and the attributes of the element were slightly different, right? So if I show you the step details here, you see click on login element, but during execution, the button name had changed to sign in, right? So here the button name and also the underlying attributes were modified when the execution of when the test was getting executed. Right? Here the context of the application has not changed, just the attributes and the minor text change of that button has happened. So here you can see a badge next to the step, which was healed using AI, right? Uh, so you don't have to do any kind of extra setup for enabling AI healing. By default, it gets enabled if you're opted in for AI features, and it will get applied on your cloud runs whenever you trigger a build. So right now, the healing is supported on Chrome and Edge browsers. Support for Safari and Firefox are upcoming. It will be launched soon. And another thing which I also wanted to highlight on the healing was a local automation. By default, when you record your workflows using the recorder, we by default capture the attributes of the element and everything. So we have our own element selection algorithm in place that takes care of finding the element uniquely during execution. Healing is built on top of that algorithm. If the algorithm is not able to find the element, then healing kicks in, and then it tries to understand the application context, and then eventually heals the element if the application context has not changed, but just the attributes or minor UI tweaks have happened on the application. Yeah. Regarding the automated tests, now here you see the verify card checkout functionality. While the healing demo was happening, we were automating this test case directly using AI. You see the sparkle icon here, which mentions it was automated by AI. If it was a normal test recorded by yourself manually, you won't see a sparkle icon. So if you click on this, you'll see the steps it has recorded, which is open page, hover on shop, add to cart, checkout, click on email, enter the email, and then fill the checkout details, enter the card details and everything, right? So you don't have to provide each and every step in detail. You just have to provide your test case details in a meaningful, continuous manner, and it will understand the context and then perform the automation for you. So this was whole on the authoring and healing agent. We'll go the Q&A. Let me stop my share once. Yeah. There's a question around how this tool handles Google CAPTCHA validation for forms. CAPTCHAs are not meant to be automated in ideal automation best practice. The best way to automate CAPTCHAs is one, you disable them on your staging environments. Second, if that is not feasible, there's an option called as advanced options in the local automation app. Let me just show you in the application. There's an option called as advanced options, and there's a tab for headers where you can provide the request headers here. Now, we are not automating CAPTCHA, but we are trying to bypass the CAPTCHA when we are automating the workflows using the low-code automation or any automation script, right? So you can just pass the request header and the value here, and then use the same request header value to configure in your website to bypass the CAPTCHA whenever there's any kind of whenever this request header uh, is shown, and then you'll bypass the CAPTCHA on your application. So this is the second way to tackle the CAPTCHA use case. And third way, if you're using Google CAPTCHA, in the V4 version, they have a specific uh, CAPTCHA key, session key, and secret access key for testing purposes itself. You can use those in your staging environments, and those will be automated as well. So this is how you can automate CAPTCHAs in your, not automate, but bypass CAPTCHAs in your testing workflows.
Rajesh, I see we have few more minutes. Let me show some of the, just give an overview of the advanced capabilities while we address the Q&A in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
So this is the same test that we, that I created earlier. Now I have launched it in the edit mode. Few folks have asked how will I, edit the test. So let's say you want to add any step in between, you can directly go anywhere and then add steps there. Or you can do something like, execute step still here. It will automatically perform all the steps and then you can add over there. Right. So this is one aspect, how you can edit the step in between. You can also stop the execution whenever it's happening in between, just by simply clicking stop automation, stop execution. It will complete the current step, whichever one it was executing, and it will stop then and there. Also, add API. So this is a API step, which some of you have asked. So let me get an API URL, and then I'll show you how to use, how we can use that. So just give me 1 second. So this is a simple GET request. So I'm going to make a send. You can see the responses received. You can see the status, body, headers, and everything. Now I can either validate the response or extract value from it. Now let's say I want to extract this value email and use it further in the test. I can do extract value and give the regular JSON path, right? So I can call it as email variable and create. Now in further steps, I can go and use that variable. So let's say, let's say I want to validate that the variable is part of this value. I can remove this, say contains, and then import the variable which we just created, right? So during execution, it will check whether this value is actually present within this. You can also do validation of the API response that we just did. Further, you can extract any value from the UI just by clicking here and then selecting any element on the screen. You can extract that value into a variable and use that further. Right. Then you can add if else loops. We also support email testing. So let's say you have a email report which gets sent, or there is some email that you receive as part of the workflow and you want to test it. We provide you BrowserStack account email IDs, which you can use to receive the email. The email will be opened as another tab open over here, and you can validate any content of the email. You can also use this for login scenarios where you may need a two-factor authentication, where an email OTP is received. We automatically identify the OTP and provide you a single click option to input that OTP also. And here you can also see, the tags that you can associate. You can map your tests to test case IDs from your test case management repository. So you can select which tool you want and then use them, and then provide the test case IDs over here. So they will be the test case IDs. What it will be used is in for the build reports. We generate a JUnit XML report, and the test case IDs will be there. So you can simply take that JUnit XML and upload to your test management system. We are also building an out-of-the-box integration for the same, which should be out in the next quarter. And headers, as Rajesh already explained, you can set headers, you can set cookies, you can set local storage values so that you can use these combinations to test returning user scenarios. If you have basic authentication, you can use the username password here, manage all the variables that were created as well. We'll go back to addressing the Q questions.
There were a few questions around the mobile app support. Can answer that.
So we also support mobile web today. So you can select, which device you want to test on. So that when we do start recording, it will create the test will be recorded using your local browser's mobile mode. But when we execute the test, we execute it on real mobile devices on the cloud. So you can record on one browser and then tell which browser on which real device on the cloud that you want to execute against as well. Okay, we are working already on the mobile app support. We will be releasing that by end of August, September timeframe. So you will be able to test native mobile apps also as part of that. Another modules is reusable set of tests steps. So if you create one login module, you can import these in all the tests. So this will have just the steps specific to login. You don't have to recreate them every time. We also have test data set, which you can use to run the same test against multiple combinations of data. So for the Calendly test, I can give different event names for each run and then run the same test multiple times also. If you have any, passwords or keys that you want to use and keep it as a secret, you can use this. You can just give the name and value. After this, no one will be able to view the actual value here.
There were few questions around database support, multiple questions. We are currently working on supporting, running database queries. Support for that is currently in progress. So we'll have it available in the next few weeks.
I see that question on, we have certain delay in between the single steps. Is that by configuration? If it is on the demo which we saw, we do have a wait time of few hundred milliseconds or up to a second, so that when you are actually seeing the test getting executed, you can see what is getting performed. It doesn't go super fast and you miss what happens. If this is about that you want to schedule certain delays between steps, and if the question is, can it be configured? We already have intelligent timeout, which automatically figures out whether the element has appeared on the screen before going ahead and performing that action. We also have out-of-the-box custom function where you can set delays if you want beyond this capability.
There's a question around how does it handle file upload and download? Can it handle file analysis? So for file upload, you don't have to do anything specific. While you are uploading the file to the website, it gets automatically recorded via the recorder. And even for the file download workflows, today when you download a file, it will get automatically detected and a corresponding step will get added in the recorder panel saying validating a file, which will validate the file's metadata. We currently are also working on adding support for content validation for PDF and CSV files, where once you export these files through via your application, you can open those files and validate the content inside it or extract the content from that files as well.
I also see there are some questions on why choose this over Playwright or Selenium. So the test creation speed or the test creation velocity is much higher in this tool. And the other key factor, the primary factor is that you don't have to code. So which means you have a lot more members who can contribute to test automation. You don't have to choose this over Playwright or Selenium if you already have tests in Playwright and Selenium. Because if you have, let's say, 200 test cases and about 60% of them are automated using Playwright, you may still have 40% or 50% more test cases which you need to automate, which you might be manually testing them now. You can engage your manual testers or whoever is doing manual testing today to automate those tests using low code automation tool. And there are some questions around the code behind the test as well. So we don't generate any static code. We capture information about the elements and dynamically use that information metadata to find the element and perform the action. But we do give a script export so that you can use that script as a backup, backup or insurance for the tests that you have created on the low code automation tool. We are not recommending you to use this tool as a script generation tool and use that in your CI/CD pipeline. But in case in the future you chose to discontinue or not use the tool, you don't want to lose all the tests that you have created. So for that purpose, we do give a script export for all the tests that are created within this. So that script is generated dynamically and given. We don't have a static script which we generate and keep ourselves. So there are some questions around data privacy on these websites and customer details. So as a general rule, we don't recommend anyone to use production data in QA environment or for testing purposes. Ideally, you should test in an environment which has masked data. But having said that, we do have all the certifications, ISO certifications, which ensures processors and write accesses are given. We are also working on GRR restriction of data so that the data won't leave the region. This will be rolled out in July-August timeframe, the GRR aspect.
Some questions around CI/CD integrations. You can integrate with any CI/CD tool. We also provide you with a bunch of APIs where you can trigger the test source directly from the API and fetch the build status updates. You can use those APIs and then integrate with any CI/CD tool that you have. Our documentation also gives you the pipeline scripts for Jenkins, Azure, Bitbucket, Circle CI, GitHub Actions, etc., etc. So you can use those things to integrate with your existing CI/CD pipelines.
There is a question on which all browser versions does this tool support. So we support the latest version of browsers, which is Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and Safari. And in mobile, we support iOS Safari and Android Chrome. And we continuously update the versions to the latest version. So ideally, if you have a test suite, which you have on if you think about it on a continuous process, as and when the new browsers come, your test cases will be automatically running on the new ones. And previously they would have run on the old ones. So as and when you go forward, all the new versions, upcoming versions will get automatically tested. Today we support only the latest versions, but if you need older versions also, do let us know the use cases and details. We would consider that. Can the relevant test suits, cases, and results be integrated into DevOps so I can produce reports? Like I mentioned earlier, you have the map test case ID feature. So once you map the test case tests to the test case IDs um, to any tool, we do generate build report XMLs, which you can trigger and then use those build JUnit XML reports to upload into any system which supports that, which majority of them support that.
Can you send and receive emails for testing authentication or test email functionality? Yes, you can. There's a option in the recorder panel. Sham had a showcase already, where you would see an option to use the permanent or temporary emails for your sign up, sign in workflows, or if you want to extract something from the email body, you can do that. And you can see the documentation as well in the create test section in local automation box. There's a section for test email workflows. You can refer that to integrate or make the email workflows recorded as well.
I also see there is a question around pricing and what is included in the pricing. So ideally you should discuss with a sales executive for your specific scenario, but as a general plan structure, you do get unlimited executions. So all our plans have unlimited test executions. So there is no execution number or credit like you can execute only X number of tests or anything of that sort. So executions, we don't count how many you are executing. And there is also ask, do you provide support if you are unable to automate certain functionality due to lack of automation knowledge or tool knowledge or limitation? We do have a program where we do handhold the customers during the onboarding phase. There is a similar to a what we call as a similar to a technical account manager who will guide you through and onboard and explain you the features and then help you with specific scenarios also. Yes.
The app use the local browser. Just so I answer this question. Yes, when you record the test and run it locally, we package the app with the Chrome for testing browser itself. So it won't use your own Chrome browser that is installed in the application, but it launches its Chrome for testing browser to record your workflows and execute locally. Thank you everyone. Thanks for the participation today. It was a great audience. We had like huge amount of registrations and good number of attendees turning up for this event. Thank you everyone for the participation. I hope the webinar was informative and valuable. See you next time.